So you may or may not know that for the first 13 years of my adult life, I worked in psychiatric facilities. And when I started out, first couple of jobs I had were in what we used to call state mental hospitals. I worked primarily with kids in those days, but I did notice that there were people who were committed, locked up, who believed that aliens were among us. Okay. So if you fast forward about 20, 25 years, those same people are now having conventions in San Diego, right? So what happened? Well, first of all, the criteria for being committed to a hospital changed. It was, are you a danger to yourself or anyone else? It used to be, did you have an idea about reality that slammed up against the accepted reality of the general population? So, in essence, the folks who believed that aliens were among us were driven crazy by the culture, and to some degree still are. I mean, that is not a mainstream thought. We make movies about it and all that sort of stuff. But around the water cooler, people are not talking about aliens among us. And by the way, I don't have a dog in that fight one way or the other. I don't know. But I'm using it as an example to suggest to you that those of us who work with dreams and those of us who dream and want to explore that experience that we have also been driven a bit crazy by the culture. And we can sort of tell this in two ways. One is that there's this whole mystical, magical area of dream work where somebody's going to tell you what your experience means. And then on the other side, we have, all kinds of clinical approaches that again tell you what your dream means. And in the middle somewhere, there has emerged a sort of more mainstream idea that has things like categories of dreams and structures where somebody is going to guide you to where you can experience certain things about your dreams and so forth. Okay. None of that's a bad thing. The problem is it's not yours. It's somebody else's dream. Okay. You enter into somebody else's dream. Well, how does that work? Well, those categories of dreams and all that other stuff came out of their imagination. It was a structure they built. And the fact of the matter is, in the course of my life, I have signed up for other people's ideas multiple times, other people's theories and methodologies and so forth. And there's some real utility in that, right? Because these are folks who've thought about it a lot longer than I have, and I can learn something from them, and I have. And pretty much the work that I do now is the accumulation of all the people I talked to and the books I read up until now. So that's not a bad thing. It's a limited thing. And I'm going to suggest to you that there is an urgency at this point in the world for you to reassert your own sovereignty. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's two ideas here. The first one is a sort of a follow-on on a piece that I did last March called The Ordinary Dream. What if, instead of seeing your dreams as mystical and magical, you saw your full experience as a human being as mystical and magical, and that dreaming was simply an experience that you had within a 24-hour period, pretty much in every 24-hour period, whether you remember your dreams or not? What would that do? Well, that would begin to put in perspective this part of you that figures things out, this part of you that constructs arguments that says, I'm right and you're wrong. Okay. And we all do that. That there's a whole body of knowledge now that says actually that is the function of the rational mind, to prove I'm right and you're wrong. But if that was just part of a continuum of your experience, you'd allow yourself to put this all in perspective. It's just part of your experience. And in doing so, you break down this hierarchy of what's magical and what's not and all this stuff. It's just your experience. The second idea here really is something I've already mentioned, which is taking back your sovereignty. Because at some point, it is essential for you to own your own dream. And I don't mean that from the standpoint that you're not allowing somebody to tell you what it means anymore. What I mean by that is that you actually allow that dream to live in you, just like you do any other experience you have. You have a conversation with somebody, and if it could be a great conversation, it could be a big fight, That lives in you, right? You go back, you repeat that, you look at that, you immerse yourself in it, particularly if it's an argument, right? Same thing with dreams. If you see it as simply a part of your experience that does not require categorization or meaning or any of the things that we do with dreams, it just means let's go back and feel that experience again, see how it informs us. Does it inform us? And let it play out over time. So, why do those two things? What's the utility there? Well, it seems to me that if you look anywhere in the world in terms of the information that we get, 95% of it is strife. 95% of it is this, okay? Fight about something. And the problem we have a lot, certainly in the United States, which is where I live, when we get involved in some kind of election or something, is there's one side that's always trying to overwhelm the other side. It doesn't matter which side you're on. You want to be right, you want to defeat the other guy. It doesn't work. It's working less and less. As a matter of fact, we discovered here in this country that nothing happens. We've figured out a way to fight with each other in a way that nothing happens. And yet at the same time, it's my experience, anecdotally, I guess you could say, and my sense is that there's a sort of quiet revolution going on that is erupting in different ways, where it is not about a conflict. It is simply about people stepping into the essence of who they are and living their lives based on who they are. And for those of you who feel frustrated and small in the context of all this strife, that is the most powerful thing you can possibly do. Because this does not understand and doesn't comprehend the idea of a fully integrated human being. So I think that the people in my business and the people who come to us have been driven a little bit crazy by the culture that says, okay, you can mess around with your dreams, but they better make sense. You better figure out what they mean. You better know that it's a good dream or a bad dream or somewhere on the hero's journey or whatever it is. You better figure that out. I'm suggesting to you, you don't need to. As a matter of fact, it might get in the way of you fully experiencing your own experience, your own dreams. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all soon.